Hi, and welcome back to Living in Richmond, Virginia with your agent Luz. My name is Luz Baez, and today I am going to share with you the pros and the cons about living in Richmond, Virginia. So make sure you stick around for the last one because you definitely don't want to miss these. Alrighty, here we go. Let's first talk about a pro. Let's start off with the good, right? One of the pros about living in Richmond, Virginia is that Richmond, Virginia has actually a low unemployment rate. I know everyone always says this about their place, and we want to talk about all the great things about our community, and people want you to come to their location, and most of them will say the same thing. But believe it or not, this is true about Richmond, Virginia. Actually, in 2013, I moved here because of employment, and we are seeing a lot of that happening now as Richmond is continuously growing. We will see more and more big companies moving in, which will give more employment to people in the are and have more jobs. So, if you're in the Richmond, Virginia, you're thinking about moving to Richmond, and most likely you are probably moving because of a job transfer or of a job availability. Like I said, a lot of major companies are moving in, and we are seeing continual growth here in the Richmond, Virginia. So low unemployment rate is a big pro here in the Richmond, Virginia. So now let's move on to a con. Something not so good about Richmond, Virginia. And one of those things is the public transit system. If you're used to or you depend on the public transportation system, Richmond, Virginia is definitely not for you. There are these great diagrams that are available, and it almost like every year they're trying to come up with a plan to better our public transportation system, but unfortunately that just has not happened yet. Do I feel like it's going to happen anytime soon? Probably not. So here in Richmond, Virginia, you do need a vehicle or someone who has a vehicle because the public transportation system, we have one. It is not the greatest in the world, especially in comparison to places like New York, up north. It's definitely does not compare. So unfortunately, that's one of the biggest cons in living in Richmond, Virginia. All right, back to the pros. What is another pro about living in Richmond, Virginia? And this one may actually be a pro, maybe / con, but we're gonna say a pro. Is everyone always wants to move where there are great schools. And so Richmond, Virginia, no matter which part, there are very good schools available in all of the surrounding areas in Richmond. And so you can go to greatschools.com and look for schools in the area that that will fit what you're looking for. But we do have pretty good schools in this area. Another pro to living in Richmond, Virginia is that in Richmond, Virginia, actually we have the low cost of living. And so this is actually in comparison to nationally, we still have the low cost of living, where the median price range of a home is about $350, $360 here in Richmond, Virginia. Places like Northern Virginia, you're definitely going to pay a lot more for a home in that area in comparison to if you buy that same home here in Richmond, Virginia. So that is another pro to living in Richmond, Virginia, is that we really do have a low cost of living here in comparison to pretty much any other place in the United States. Another con to living in Richmond, Virginia, and again, this is kind of like letting you know to do your due diligence in looking around when you're searching for homes. But of course, just like many places, you have a crime rate to consider, and in Richmond, more so, there are some areas there are a little bit, you'll see a higher crime rate, but there's many other areas that are pretty safe to be in. And so, but again, you know, you can search online. There are websites that you can find this information, and that you can do your own due diligence to find out what is the crime rate in the area that you're looking into. So that's a con. Now, another pro, and of course one of my favorites, is that in Richmond, Virginia, there is a lot of leisure and entertainment. I mean, you know, you name it, you can find it. When it comes to dining, when it comes to going outside in nature, going out to a Broadway show, going, you know, we have Broadway, you know, our little Broadway here, comedy shows, you know, concerts here, especially because we have the Richmond Coliseum, and we have other, you know, big venues that they are major events that happen here in the Richmond area. It being still considered a metro area, we still have a lot of events that are constantly available, and a lot of them are actually free. You know, there's, especially during the seasons, we have a lot of festivals. The Virginia State Fair is coming up, and as I stated in a previous video, not only the fact that you have just the leisure and entertainment, but I was just talking about this with another friend of mine, how Richmond really is just kind of central, again, to everything, where Williamsburg, you know, you want to take a half a day. It doesn't even have to be a whole day. It could just be a half a day, a couple hours to go down and enjoy the beautiful areas in Williamsburg, and the history down in that area, and the various little, you know, spots that you can go visit. We have King's Dominion right there, like 30 minutes from here. You know, Busch Gardens right there in Williamsburg, once again, about an hour away. So, you know, it's just a lot of options for leisure and entertainment. And if you just want to go out and hang out for the night, and you can find various restaurants in various locations. I actually went to the Drive Shack the other day, or I guess it's like a Top Golf. It's like a bowling alley, but with golf. I mean, how cool is that, you know? So just little things like that. We have the Richmond Squirrels, so baseball. You know, you can go to a game. Like I said, you can go to a show, you can go to a concert. Those things are available here in Richmond, and it's nice to have that. Actually, in talking about that, I just had a chance to see the Richmond Symphony for the first time about a week ago down in Pocahontas Park. And guess what? It was free, and it was beautiful. I am a lover of music, especially classical music, and you know, the symphony, they were just so beautiful, and listening to them under the stars, it was really nice. I really enjoyed that, and that was just, you know, like I said, free of charge, and there's a lot of things that you can do here in Richmond, and always provided for the community and just having a good time. So another con that I want to mention about living in Richmond, Virginia, is that with growth, you're going to have growth issues, as they say. So in Richmond, Virginia, we are very industrial. We have 2 nuclear plants, and so you're going to see a lot of that smoke coming from those industrial places. Obviously, if the nuclear plants are functioning fine, then, we have no issues, right? But it's just kind of sets off a little bit of a concern for the environment, being that, if something were to go wrong, obviously, we're near a nuclear plant. So that is a con about living in Richmond, and it's maybe a little bit of concern, especially, for our environment. Like I said, the smoke from the industrial. We also have a pretty, long and robust train, and we move a lot of stuff through trains here in Richmond. Pretty much wherever you go, you're going to see a train track, or you're going to be stuck at one with a lot of the movement of stuff going back and forth within the train. It's still used quite a bit in this area for transportation of goods and stuff like that. So keeping that in mind, that that may be a con in comparison. Like we get a lot of smoke. A lot of times when you're driving right through the city, you could smell the sewage, and it's not the greatest in the world. However, if you're not traveling there every day, it may not bother you. And again, just do your research as far as to like what locations you're looking at, or you can give us a call and we can go check it out together. However, that may be kind of like a turn off for some people, considering it is a metro and it is pretty industrial, especially as you get closer to the Richmond city area. So that's a con. That's a con. So another pro about living in Richmond, Virginia is Richmond, Virginia has so much history. I mean, if you are a history buff, this is definitely the place for you. If you like the museums and you like to kind of just bask on history and all the things that learning about history, and we just have a very rich history here in the Richmond, Virginia area. And so that may be something that you may be interested in. I personally like going to the museums. I like going to the art museum. I like going to the history. I like, when I go around, actually, I was just with a friend the other day, and we were talking about this very thing, just how much history is in Virginia in general, but particularly this area will have, a lot of history to talk about. And so that is definitely one of the pros of living in Richmond, Virginia. It's just the rich history that it brings. And so now to finish this off, I have one last pro, and that pro is that in Richmond, Virginia, there is something for everyone. I stated this before, if you want to just lay back, relax, and just do absolutely nothing, there is definitely a space for you to do that here in Richmond, Virginia. Enjoying nature, going out to the park and just going out for a ride, or just going for a walk, or just driving around. Sometimes my husband and I really we're like, all right, let's get in the car and drive around with our kids, drive by Pony Pasture Park. We, especially during the holiday season, they have the tacky lights. You can visit the different lights in the area during the holiday season. You only have to get out your car. I mean, most people do, because there's a lot of lights, and this is pretty cool. So that is something as well to go visit. If you like more upbeat life, and you like to go and have a little bit more entertainment, well, definitely there's that for you too. So if you want to have a little bit more, like, I guess you can say, the fast life, then Richmond has that. And if you want to have more relaxing, then Richmond has that too. And if you're in the middle, guess what? Richmond has that too. So that is one of the definite pros that pro about living in Richmond, Virginia. So this concludes our video for today. If you like, I hope this video was informative for you, And don't forget to subscribe and like so you can find out more videos about living in Richmond, Virginia. Thank you for stopping by, and I hope to see you back soon. Bye.